So this is my inaugural Scion. So I've attended and I'm really excited to be here. And I'm really excited to be here with Commander Gardner. And when we were able to talk beforehand about this presentation, there were a lot of themes to what he is going to share with us. And I just feel so privileged to be a part of it. And so this is what kind of came to my mind about how to tie this together with some of the things that are important for first responders and law enforcement in particular. So just for one moment, I want everybody to think about what comes up for you when you look at this image. And if you want to share, that's totally cool. If not, that's okay too. But just take a second what comes up for you with this image. So we look at it, you see the foreground and the background. I don't know if you want to show it.
Tranquility, peace.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say, tranquility.
Yes, yes, and that's exactly right. Thinking about tranquility and peace, and also kind of paradise, right? This crystal water with all of this containment. And one of the major themes I think that I certainly came away with that will be a focus of what Commander talks with you all about is connection. And so how might an island fit in with that? And I was thinking about it that so many of us, I think, particularly with law enforcement, can feel like this island. And it can actually look really, really attractive, right? For all of the reasons we're all thinking of, where I don't need to hassle with a lot of the things that come with relationships and connection. It's peaceful, it's tranquil, and it's contained. I have what I need. But if we look even a little bit closer, we can really see that that is not the case, especially for an island like this. So even in this picture, you can see the background there. There's something else there, right? And likely something else that's needed. So this one, same thing, very peaceful, very tranquil, but this one has a boat dock, right? Which suggests to me, even those of us who are very individual, who pride ourselves on being able to take care of ourselves and what we're doing, we still need that boat ramp or that dock or something that connects us. So I thought this was a pretty cool picture. And using this as a framework in my own head about when we think about an island, right? I also had never really heard the word frigate before. So I was like, that caught my eye, French frigate shoals, whatever that is, right? But these are the Hawaiian Islands. And again, if we're thinking about connection, think about an island that is going to be exponentially less complicated than a human being, right? Still complex, right? An island chain, very complex, but far less complex than a human being. And when you start adding more than one human being, the complexity just continues to increase. And so some takeaways that I'd like us to think about in terms of our coping, in terms of how this impacts us all, whether we're law enforcement or whatever it is we're doing, is these relationships. So again, more simple than human beings, but there is a difference, right, between the distance between, say, Maui and the big island of Hawaii. Those are a little closer. What happens on one definitely impacts the other, versus the distance between Maui and, just because frigate is fun to say, French frigate shoals, right? Or the island of Midway, but there's still that connection. So one of the takeaways that I'd like us to think about, and it will be a little bit different for everyone as Commander speaks with us about something I think so unbelievably important, is that since no actual island is an island, neither are you. So whether we know it or not, no matter how self-contained and self-sufficient, we have connections. And so the question becomes one of quality and degree of those connections and distance. And so connection is also absolutely a core foundation of resilience. So that is something Scion and everything that we're doing strives to foster. How can we help weather what life brings our way? Much of which is outside of our control, which is very difficult for most of us, especially for those in law enforcement, right? We need that control. We demand that control of ourselves and of you. And so we absolutely need resilience. And I put up there irrefutable. There's no refuting, right? One of the most unsatisfactory things I think about being a psychologist, or when you ask a psychologist or psychiatrist a question, often our answer is, well, it depends, right? And that's the truth. This one's irrefutable, right? Connection must be there in order to foster and strengthen resilience. And it helps buffer many stressors, right? And if you can think of times in your life, sometimes we often think about the times that someone has caused us stress, right? And when you're answering calls, you often see the very worst, right, of what human beings can do in their connections, but we often see the very best as well. And that absolutely can help buffer, thinking of times where someone just said, hey, can I help you with that? Or, I'll pick that up for you. Or, hey, I noticed you're staying late, or I'll cover your shift, or something, just those connections, let alone when we're dealing with something as important as loss or grief or bereavement or fear. And so connections are there. It's a matter of, are we aware of them, right? What is the distance, right? Again, if we think of our islands, think of where you might be with certain relationships in your life. And really, we kind of have all of these, right? Those closest to us might be Maui and Hawaii, with the person maybe we don't see as often, but they're still there, is our French frigate shoals, right? But they are there and require some attention. And then I think what's also important, especially as we hear Amanda's story, is that they're often a mixed bag. And it absolutely requires the things that most law enforcement officers want the least, which is that vulnerability. If I'm close to someone, I am vulnerable, right? I'm vulnerable physically, but sometimes even scarier, I'm vulnerable emotionally. What happens to you impacts me, right? And that can mean tremendous joy, and it can also mean tremendous pain. And so I think one of the things that really kind of helps bring that together is a couple of quotes from Viktor Frankl. Many of you are probably quite familiar with Dr. Frankl, who is a Holocaust survivor, spent time in multiple camps, including Auschwitz. And really, his man's search for meaning has been impactful worldwide, right, for decades now. But to think about this, again, this connection, what is to give light must endure burning. And those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. And what really struck me as the connection with what Commander will share with us is it is that mixed bag, right? Sometimes it really hurts, right? That's the burning, but it gives so much light, and definitely making the argument for all of the reasons we talked about why it's worth it, right? And how that connection endures, and how often that why involves other people and that connection with other people. So with that, turn it over
Awesome.
to Commander.
Thank you, Doc. I will appreciate it.